Hey, beloved of God, thanks for clicking on this video. Some of you have subscribed, others of you may have stumbled upon this video. I'm trusting it's going to bless someone. If you can, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you think. Would love for your thoughts. Here's what I want to talk about in this video. I want to discuss this question. Who, or maybe we could say what, but we'll do, who is informing your heart? Who is informing your heart? Who is giving you your sense of success, your sense of security, your sense of strength? How do you know that you're on track? When you think about your identity, when you lay in bed at night, who is informing your heart? And I want to share about this story, which is a little bit confusing for many people. For a long time, I didn't really understand this passage, and maybe this will give insight, kind of a Bible mystery passage, and help you understand what was going on for the character David in this passage. We all have a tendency to want measurable results. I've got a ruler here. We want measurable results. We want to be able to lay our head on our pillow and be like, I know that I'm a success because I told 2 people about Jesus, right? Or I know that I'm a success because my boss said, well done. Or I know I'm a success because I got a 94 on that test, whatever. We all have a tendency to crave, to long for measurable, observable metrics, like these standards that we can point to and say, because of this number or this measure or this instance from this person, I know that I'm okay or what I'm doing is good. But I want to challenge that thinking, especially as believers. Maybe you're a minister who's watching this. Me as a pastor, all the time, like the 3 biggest things that people ask me or that people kind of want to know about your ministry, the way that they measure your ministry is really based on numbers, the amount of people. I call it the 3 B's. I stole that from one of my professors at Moody, but the 3 B's: buildings, butts, and budgets. A lot of times people think your ministry is successful based on how many butts you have, how many people you're building, like how big or how nice your facility is. Oh, we just repainted and got this, $40,000 carpet. And your budget, right? How much money you have. But how do we really know true success? How do we really find true security? Where should that come from? Should it come from my ruler? Should it come from the amounts of people in the seats or how much money is in our bank account? Or should it come from somewhere else? Look at this passage. 1 Chronicles chapter 21. David is king. It's late in his kingship. And it says in verse 1, 2 Chronicles chapter 21, it says, Then Satan stood up against Israel and moved David. Another version says, incited David's heart. So Satan comes against Israel, and what does he do? He incites David's heart to number Israel, to take a census of how many warriors there were in Israel. How big is my army? David thought. Verse 2. So David said to Joab, which is like the commander of his army and his right-hand guy, and to the princes of the people, go and number Israel from Beersheba even to Dan, and bring word that I may know their number. And Joab's like, no, may the Lord multiply Israel 100 times, but no, don't number the people. Don't do this. Somehow Joab has this sense that this is very wrong. But David is forceful toward Joab, and Joab goes and does it. He finds out that Israel has 1,100,000 warriors, men who draw the sword, and 470,000 in Judah. But God is very displeased with David's choice to number Israel. In verse 14, it says that the Lord sends a pestilence on Israel, and 70,000 people die because of David's sin by numbering Israel. Now, before, when I read that passage, I always scratched my head. I was like, what was wrong with taking a census? What was wrong with numbering Israel? But I think it was a sign of something major that changed in David's heart. If you remember when we first meet David in the story, he's just a shepherd boy, and he has incredible faith in God. He is nothing, he has nothing, he's insignificant, he's puny, and yet he relies not on anything measurable, but only on the Spirit of God. In 1 Samuel 17, David goes against Goliath, and he says, you come against me with sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord. And the Lord was enough for David. The Lord gave him confidence. The Lord gave him courage. The Lord informed him of who he was. In the chapter before, in 1 Samuel 16, it says that God sees not as man sees. Man looks at the outward appearance. Man looks at the measurables, but God looks at the heart. God looks at the secret things. God looks at the spiritual realm. God looks at the internal. And God chose David, even though he appeared to be nothing, even in the eyes of Samuel the prophet. Whoa, even the man of God didn't see anything immediately in David, but God saw something. Why did it upset God so much that David had numbered the people? It was because David was relying on a metric. David wanted a measurement. David was trying to figure out his strength, or how successful he was, or how much the kingdom had grown, or some objective that he had to try and get a number to affirm him, or an ambition he had. And he stopped relying on the Lord. He stopped relying on the Spirit, and he relied on the measurement and the metric. And I think that infuriated and broke God's heart. So let me ask you, what are you relying on? What is informing your heart? What is telling you that you're a success? Do you think you're a success because you have X amount of money in the bank? Do you think you're a success because your church has this many people, or because you read this many chapters in the Bible today? Do you think you're a success because this amount of people have contacted you on your dating site? Like, what is it? What measurable outcome are you looking to instead of looking to the Lord? Brother and sister, don't be informed by the metrics, but be informed by the Master. Don't be informed by the things you can measure, by what you have or what you do, or by the numbers for anything, but only be informed by the Lord. And maybe you need to ask him, Lord, how am I really doing before you? Am I a success? Am I spending my time where I need to spend it? Am I sharing the word like I need to share the word? Am I preaching or teaching if you're in ministry? Lord, what do you want? Don't allow yourself to be informed by the tempting measurements around you. Don't let yourself feel satisfied because this was fulfilled or that goal was fulfilled or most people think this, but only be informed by the Master, by the Lord himself. Take this to heart and seek God about where you're trusting measurements more than your Master. Let go of the measurements, believe and seek God's affirmation. Thank you for watching.